Hi everyone, this is Francesco Rampazzo. I'm a career development fellow in marketing and consumer demography at the Said Business School, the Leverhulme Center for Demographic Science, and Nuffield College at the University of Oxford. Today I'm going to present this paper titled Monitoring the Numbers of European Migrants in the United Kingdom using Facebook data. This research is part of my PhD thesis that I recently discussed at the University of Southampton, and this paper is co-authored by my PhD supervisors, who are Jakub Bijak from the University of Southampton, Agnese Vitali from the University of Trento, Ingmar from the Qatar Computing Research Institute, and Emilio Zagheni from the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research. Digital trace data coming from social media, the internet more broadly, or also mobile phones, is an opportunity for demographers to answer research questions at a smaller granularity in time and space. This data has some positive features, such as they are always on, timely, or having velocity, helping us in studying certain phenomenon in a more timely manner. Though there are some issues with this data related to representativeness, but also biases in the data. If we are able to understand these issues, we can try to model them and fix these data sources. In demography, digital trace data has started to be used to answer research questions in topics such as gender, digital inequality, male fertility, sexual orientation. But the majority of the studies have actually looked at migration. Migration research with digital trace data has looked at the ways to improve migration estimates through Bayesian models, combining different data sources. Twitter data, for example, have been used also to try to extend the traditional definition of migrants, of international migrants, suggested and recommended by the UN. Facebook advertising platform data have been used to study auto-migration, for example, from Puerto Rico after a natural disaster such as the Hurricane Maria. But also, this data can be used to study research questions related to integration of migrants, comparing interests between the local population and the migrant population. This kind of research has started to be published earlier on computational social science conferences, but now it is also published on the main outlets of demographic research, such as Population Development Review, Demography, and Demographic Research. For example, also a paper from my PhD thesis is published, or is going to be published soon, on demography. This paper repurposed a model that was conceptualized at the University of Southampton by Reimer colleagues, the Integrated European Migration Model. This is a Bayesian hierarchical model that we repurposed to combine digital trace data from Facebook advertising platform and traditional data from surveys, from the Labour Force survey, to try to have to obtain an estimate of the number of migrants in the UK, from European migrants in the UK. And if you check the QR code on the left-hand side of this slide, you can be redirected to a GitHub repository with the paper, the code, and the data to fully reproduce the paper. In the context of this other paper that I'm presenting today is the United Kingdom. In the UK, the migration estimates are based on surveys. The main data sources are the International Passenger Survey, but also the Labour Force Survey. But recently, in August 2019, this statistics has been reclassified as experimental statistics by the Office for National Statistics. We have to be aware that the Office of National Statistics is also working hard on transforming the immigration statistics, combining not only survey data, but also administrative data sources, and have a better understanding of the number of European and non-European migrants in the UK. The focus of this paper is on Europeans because Brexit has brought much uncertainty on their lives in the UK. Also, since there has been this change of policy on the 1st of January 2021 with the end of the free movement, it would be really interesting to understand how this policy affects the number of European migrants in the UK, but also to understand the uncertainty prior to this change. The research questions, paraphrasing Theresa May, Brexit means Brexit, is does Brexit means Brexodus? Is the number of European migrants living in the UK decreasing? But also, since in this paper we are solely use the data from Facebook advertising platform, the research question is, can we use this digital trace data to investigate trends of migrants? So not the absolute numbers, but trends over time. The data, as I said, are coming from Facebook advertising platform. Facebook is one of the most widely used social media worldwide, and their main source of business is advertising. So they have this website, Facebook Ads Manager, that help advertisers to target audiences for their ads. We are repurposing this data source to have estimates of the number of migrants living in a specific country. We are using this variable expats, which in this screenshot you can see is portraying the migrants from Poland living in the United Kingdom. And we are interested in this potential reach number that is telling us that there are 380,000 Polish migrants between 18 and 65 plus years old, both male and female, living in the United Kingdom. So this variable is actually capturing people that were previously living in Poland and now live in the United Kingdom. We are disaggregating this variable by age, education, and country, because we're not only looking at Poland, but at other 8 countries. And here I'm showing you some ads that I've seen on my timeline on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as a migrant between Italy and the UK. So on the left-hand side, you can see an ad that I've seen on Facebook in which they are trying to sell me this mug, playing on the mama boy cliche of Italians, suggesting that the love of mother and son doesn't know any distance. And you can really see that they capture the fact that I'm an Italian living in the UK. On the right side, you can see an ad that I've seen on Instagram in which Episocks is trying to sell me these socks to support Italy on the Euro Cup. You can see that again, they use this source of variable. Though there are also some biases and problems with this kind of variables, because when I'm back in Italy after a while, I start seeing also ads that are actually for British migrants in Italy. So you can see that on the left-hand side, there is an ad from Facebook in which they were advertising this VPN to watch British television, but also on the right side on Twitter, I've been advertised this government ad on making me aware of the Brexit transition. So this is the first figure of the time series that we created from 2018 for 9 European countries with Facebook advertising data. The countries are Poland, Romania, Italy, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, France, Germany, and Latvia. And these are among the countries that have the majority of European countries living in the UK. The data are on a log scale. And we see that from 2018, we are still continuing to download the data. So the time series are also showing data until the beginning of August. So though you can see that there has been a first jump down in this time series, and we think that this is an algorithm change that happened in the middle of March 2019. Facebook has not reported any information on this algorithm change, but we think that they did something on their algorithm that changed the definition of migrants or expat. Though this happened also when Brexit was expected to happen. We also noticed in March 2020 that there has been a second Facebook algorithm change, but this was upwards. So we see that more or less the time series is brought up, and even though there has been a decrease, it's continuing from 2019. So what we see, what we did in this paper is actually analyzing the period between the two algorithm changes. And we're not looking at absolute numbers, but just at the trends, because we think that the trends are anyway correct, but the numbers might, the absolute numbers might be wrong. We also include now in the figure data from the Labor Force Survey as a comparison. And these are dashed line from 2017 to 2019, in which we see that there is also a slightly decline in the number of European migrants, but it's not as pronounced as with the Facebook advertising data. I said that the estimates were disaggregated by age. So the estimates are divided into 5 groups, 15-19, 20-29, 30-39, 40-49, and 50+. What we see from this is that the majority of the European migrants are quite young, between 20-29 and 30-39 years old. We also disaggregated by education. We have 3 groups for education. Many of the Facebook users don't provide their level of education, so they fall into the category unspecified. But then we also created a group for secondary education and tertiary education. We use a simple Bayesian trend model to analyze this time series. The trend is a log linear with a normal error. There are 2 components, the intercept that describes the initial magnitude of the groups, and it is compared to the reference category. And then there is a slope that describes the gradient of the decline, again, in comparison to the reference category. In the model, we also included indicators variables for age, education, and country. So these are the results from the model. We can see on the left side the intercept and on the right side the slope. In here we are looking at the results for age. The reference category is 15-19 years old. We see that in comparison to 15-19, the majority of these users are 20-29, 30-39, and 50+. In terms of slope, we see that in comparison to 15-19 years old, the group that is decreasing the fastest is age 20-29, followed by 30-39. So in this time period, before the Brexit end of the transition, we see that younger migrants were decreasing faster than the other groups. In terms of education, we have 3 groups, and the reference category is secondary education. Looking at the slope, so at the magnitude of this decrease, we see that in comparison to secondary education, unspecified was decreasing faster, followed by tertiary education. But it is important to notice that it is also tertiary education, so highly skilled migrants are decreasing in this period of time. In terms of country of origin of these migrants, the reference category is Italy. That is one of the largest countries. The largest country are Romania and Poland. And in terms of the slope, what we see is that in comparison to Italy, Poland and Romania were decreasing faster. The other European countries are not decreasing as fast as Italy, but some are quite close to the Italian levels. So what does it mean in terms of this research? Does Brexit mean Brexodus? From looking at these Facebook advertising data that are not perfect, we see that there is a declining trend in EU migrants living in the UK for these 9 nationalities. It seems that the UK is losing its attractiveness for migrants living in the UK, and this might be linked to the uncertainty surrounding Brexit. The analysis crucially shows that the digital trace data might be used to monitor change over time in the stocks of migrants present in a country, though we have to be aware that these data are not perfect, and they come with algorithm changes, biases, and in the next steps of this paper, we will try to use the entire time series and fix the 2 algorithm changes. This paper is part of this learning process. We want to contribute to this gradual and incremental process to understand how to combine traditional data sources and digital traces, but also to understand the biases and the representativeness issues of the digital traces. We acknowledge that this data source is challenging to use, but we really want to try to proactively help the research community to understand how it is possible to use them for also consider policies change over time or monitor policy change over time. So thank you very much. I want to acknowledge that this work was supported by the Economic and Social Research Council through the South Coast Doctoral Training Partnership, but also by the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research. Thank you.